I'm proud to be joined by Senator Stabenow, who will be here in a minute, Senators Menendez and Whitehouse. So the Senate's continuing on our productive streak. With today's vote on Judge Florence Pan of the D.C. Circuit, we will have confirmed our 83rd judicial nomination of this Congress and our sixth Circuit Court nominee this month. You all know how important those Circuit Court nominees are. As a judge for both the D.C. Superior Court and the D.C. District Court, Judge Pan's remarkably qualified and experienced. After the Supreme Court, the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals is probably the most important federal court in the country. It has jurisdiction over cases involving Congress and most of the executive branch agencies. So this confirmation is really important to our country, and we're glad that she is being added to the court. In addition to judicial confirmations, the Senate will also vote this week to advance a pair of critically important measures on the floor. Later today, we're going to proceed to the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol, an agreement from the 1980s that united much of the world in reducing the use of industrial chemicals, refrigerants harmful to our ozone layer. Just listen to this. It is estimated that if we sign this protocol, it will reduce by the end of this century, the amount of the global warming by 1%, 1 degree centigrade. That's huge. So it shows you how important this is. Every molecule of hydrofluorocarbon is 1,000 times more destructive to the atmosphere than a molecule of CO2. But it's also a golden opportunity to strengthen U.S. businesses and secure an edge against China in the emerging industry of next-generation refrigerants. By ratifying Kigali, businesses that specialize in the next generation of refrigerant technologies would see new markets open to them. U.S. net exports could increase by $6 billion annually in this amendment. So it's a pro-jobs bill. Combined with the previous measures to reduce HFCs, the step could create 150,000 new jobs. We make the new refrigerants that are not harmful. And to make sure that the whole world uses them when China is sort of going rogue on this will be really, really important to us. We'd get a leg up on Chinese businesses who now lag far behind in developing viable HFC alternatives. Put simply, it's going to strengthen our economy and create American jobs. And we're very hopeful that we will get the votes needed to pass it. As you know, tomorrow's vote, it needs 2/3. Today's vote, it just needs 60 because it's a motion to proceed on cloture. Finally, the Senate this week will take up a measure critical to fighting the cancer of dark money in our elections, the Disclose Act. Senator Whitehouse, who's here, has done an amazing job documenting and pressing forward in trying to eliminate this evil scourge of dark money. He's been our champion. The President just spoke about it about 15 minutes ago, about how important it was to pass this amendment. And Senator Whitehouse has documented and pressing forward on all of this in a great way. The Disclose Act is simple. It would require super PACs and other dark money groups to report anyone contributing $10,000 or more during an election, and require groups spending money on judges to disclose their donors too. You'll hear a lot more about it from Senator Whitehouse. There's no justification for keeping these massive contributions hidden. Even Leader McConnell used to support disclosure till it served his political interests, and then he did a 180-degree about-face. But in 1997, he said, this is McConnell, I think disclosure is the best disinfectant. I think it gives our constituents an opportunity to decide whether or not we're in the clutches of some particular interest group and whether or not that's a voting issue for them. I don't think even Sheldon Whitehouse could have put it that well. I hope Republicans will join us because Americans intuitively understand that right now there's a stench taking over our campaign finance laws. So Democrats in the Senate are going to keep leading, keep pushing forward, keep working for American families. Senator Stabenow.
Thank you, Senator Schumer. Let me just emphasize, as we come to the podium every week and talk about the issues that we're involved in, that every day Democrats are standing up for the American people, every day. And every day Republicans are too busy standing up for special interests. We took on Big Pharma to bring down the cost of prescription drugs. So many of us have been fighting for negotiation under Medicare for years, and we finally got that done. Not even one Republican voted for that. Not even one Republican voted to cap the price of insulin or out-of-pocket costs for prescription drug costs for folks on Medicare because of the big money, the big dark money from pharma on the other side. Democrats took on big oil to lower energy costs and tackle the climate crisis and create literally millions of new, good-paying, clean energy manufacturing jobs. The Republicans, they're too busy taking campaign contributions from big oil, dark money, big interests that for years stand with them on their side against the American people. We took on the gun lobby, passed the first significant gun safety legislation in 30 years. We stood with children while most Republicans stood with the NRA. And Democrats reduced the deficit by requiring that big corporations that pay zero in taxes, maybe they should contribute to America too, just like everybody else. But again, the Republicans stood on the other side with the corporations that pay zero and the dark money that backs them up. So this week, we're going to continue our fight against the special interest, dark money interests in this country and work to pass the Disclose Act, which is frankly long overdue. You can stand with the American people or you can stand with the powerful. That's the choice. We know which side we are on because we do that every single day. Every day we're standing with the American people and taking on dark money special interests. And we have been winning on behalf of the American people. It is way past time to make the Disclose Act law to shine a bright public light on what they are doing and stop it.
Senator Menendez.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. I want to talk about the Kigali treaty, amendment which we're voting on as we speak. American refrigeration and air conditioning manufacturers have defined the global industry standard for decades. Our companies have the competitive advantage over those in China and India, which have doubled down on yesterday's technology. American businesses have been clear. It's time to phase down antiquated chemicals, known as HFCs, which American manufacturers want to leave behind. They have been investing billions of dollars to develop new technologies, alternatives to HFCs, and they've done so in ways that will ultimately decrease costs for consumers. That's why in a few moments the Senate will begin the process to provide advice and consent to ratifying the Kigali Amendment, the fifth technical update to the Montreal Protocol, the hugely successful international treaty to protect the ozone layer. A treaty amendment that passed the Senate Foreign Relations Committee by bipartisan voice vote. A bipartisan voice vote. We don't generally pass treaties in the committee, and we don't generally do it by voice. Ratifying Kigali will ensure American companies dominate export markets into the future. It will also weaken the market in the United States for imports from China and elsewhere. It will generate thousands more domestic manufacturing jobs, according to industry estimates. We're talking about $4.8 billion annually of increased exports, $12.5 billion of increased economic output every year. And the only way to keep our businesses from being locked out of the global markets is to pass this amendment. U.S. businesses that employ tens of thousands of people across the country need to be able to sell their products in key countries. So it's no surprise that manufacturers all over the country, in states like Wisconsin, Texas, and Kentucky, all support Senate approval of Kigali. There's been an outpouring of support from the business community, including major employers like Walmart, Carrier, Train, Lennox, and others. The National Association of Manufacturers, the Chamber of Commerce, they all support this practical and bipartisan action. This is a win for American competitiveness, a win for American businesses that set the standard internationally, a win for our national security and leadership on the global stage, and it's critical for the United States to join the 137 other nations that are already party to the Kigali Amendment so that the United States can reap the economic benefits associated with ratification and protect U.S. business interests. If we do not ratify, we lock our companies out internationally from being able to sell the more advanced product that they have created that can lead to thousands, tens of thousands of new jobs in the United States, billions of dollars in economic activity. If we want to beat China, this is another dimension of beating China, pass the Kigali Treaty.
Thank you, Bob. And now our hero in terms of combating dark money, Mr. Sheldon, whatever his middle initial is, White House.
No middle name.
No
NMA.
I was deprived. Thank you, Leader. The theatrical misrule of the Trump administration created a MAGA spectacle of cruelty, bombast, corruption, and lawlessness. And that spectacle dazzled and distracted many from the creeping, insidious, clandestine influence of dark money, what the President defined today as money that flows in the shadows to influence our elections. We now know that dark money brought us a decade of climate denial and obstruction, a national campaign of voter suppression, the special interest capture of the Supreme Court at a so far documented cost of $580 million, filtered through front groups played like piano keys, and a Republican Party that has become as dependent on dark money as a deep-sea diver on his air hose. The public sees and feels that their government too often responds to secretive special interests and not to them. Americans across the political spectrum, from Tea Partiers to Bernie bros, are justifiably furious. They want answers. And the Disclose vote will make crystal clear who wants to remove the dark money toxin from America's political system and who insists on protecting and defending it. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Sheldon.
Leader
Okay.
Schumer.
Go ahead, Manu.
The President said in an interview that he has not made a decision about whether or not to run for re-election. Do you personally want him to run for re-election and believe he's the best candidate for your party?
If he runs, I'm going to support him. Yes, next.
The president said that he believes the pandemic is over. Do Democrats think the pandemic is over? And how is that influencing efforts to secure COVID funding on the CR?
Okay. Look, certainly everyone wants to get back to normal, and it's good that the COVID is declining, but we always have to stay vigilant. As for getting the COVID money, the Republicans opposed it even before the President made his comments. Yes?
Is permitting reform still in the CR?
The permitting reform is part of the IRA, and I intend to add it to the CR and get it done. Yes?
Are there any circumstances whatsoever that could be taken out of the CR?
I told you.
But you said that for 2 weeks. I'm just getting
I'm
clarity.
saying I'll say it for 2 weeks and 1 day. Next.
So the Republicans are saying they're not going to support the CR if it has the Manchin-driven energy permitting proposals. What do you say to that?
There's no reason Republicans shouldn't support it, and I hope they do.
Leader Sherman,
Yes.
Senator Grassley said he has 20 Republican votes for the bipartisan antitrust bill proposal. Will you put it on the floor here?
Look, I believe in that bill. I want to see it to pass. I'm working with Senator Klobuchar to get the 60 votes.
Leader Sherman,
Yes.
you have a recess scheduled the beginning of October. Chairman Jack Reed says he wants to do NDAA in October. Do you plan to have that recess that week as scheduled?
We will be meeting in October. There's 1 week we can't meet because of the Yom Kippur holiday, but we'll be meeting in October. And DAA will be part of what we do.
Will the Senate be voting on the ECA reform bill during the lame duck?
Well, I'm meeting today with Senators Merkley and Warren, and we'll discuss the path forward. Okay? Thank you, everybody.